Hello again. One of the most irritating words in the modern world is respect. People knife each other because they have not been afforded enough respect. And whenever we encounter some dangerous or wicked behaviour among the members of a minority group, we are told that we should respect other people's ways of life. This is presented as being self-evidently true, but it is hard to see why. Many people have traditional ways of life which are not only at odds with life in a modern secular democracy such as Britain, but their customs include the abuse of women and murderous attacks on men. Just why this conduct deserves our respect has never been clear to me. Or take a more innocuous example, the practice of marrying members of your own family to whom you are related by blood. This used to be common among the royal families of Europe, of course, and it led to some very strange situations indeed, to say nothing of some singularly odd characters. I think some people have probably seen one or two of those examples of such people at the coronation today. They have emerged from an awful lot of inbreeding. Marrying your cousin is seldom a good idea. And if you make a habit of that sort of thing in your family, then there are going to be a lot of difficulties. There's good reason why most cultures have a taboo on incest. Cousin marriage has been legal in this country since the establishment of the Church of England in the 16th century, but very few people engage in that kind of thing. Fewer than 1 in 25,000 marriages in Britain between white British people involve cousins. Most of us feel an instinctive repugnance to such unions. However, let's be open-minded and respect other people's cultures. Among people in Britain of Pakistani heritage, half of all marriages are between cousins, and in some places 60% of marriages are like that. There are two practical consequences of this. The first is that this community, as a result of keeping it in the family, as one might put it, tends to be inward-looking and doesn't mingle all that much with other ethnicities. They keep themselves to themselves. The second result is that an awful lot of children from Pakistani families in Britain are born either dead or with severe disabilities which cause them to die in childhood. In the London borough of Redbridge, which has a large Pakistani population, no fewer than 1 in 5 of the deaths of babies and children are caused by cousins or half-brothers and sisters marrying each other. In the description to this video, I give a link to a piece about this from the Evening Standard newspaper. In the Midland city of Birmingham, the situation is even worse. The Enhanced Genetic Services Project there estimates that the rate of stillbirths and infant deaths of families of Pakistani heritage, which are definitely or probably due to cousin marriages, run at 38 times the rate of white European babies. I give a link to this research in the description to this video. Here is an example of a traditional cultural practice. It means that a huge amount of NHS resources and special education in schools is needed to cope with the genetic ill effects of this way of life. Why should we respect a culture of this kind which brings so many problems to our services and kills so many children? Is this taking respect and cultural sensitivity a little bit too far? What about what is known as honour-based abuse in the same community? This is where a woman who is thought to have shamed her family is beaten, raped or murdered by male members of her own family. This is certainly a traditional way of life. Should we respect it? What about exorcisms and witchcraft murders? Or the fine old tradition of settling disputes with firearms, which is popular in another community? Are we bound to respect that as well? I can see no reason at all why we should respect or even be sensitive to any customs or practices which have been brought into this country. If they run counter to the usual way of life in Britain, then I think we should feel free to reject or denounce them just as we see fit. The problem is that a major tenet of multiculturalism is that we should not have one dominant culture and lifestyle which is used as a yardstick in comparison with which other cultures are measured and assessed. Instead, we should accept that no one culture is any better than the next, and that it would be unreasonable and self-centered of us to assume that our own way of life is better than that of Pakistanis, West Indians, or Nigerians. As it happens, this strikes me as being quite false. Our way of life, which entails rejecting cousin marriages, is better than that of traditional Pakistani culture, which embraces them. Our way of life, which consists of seeking to settle disputes peacefully, or at worst with our fists, is far preferable to resorting to guns and knives at the first sign of disagreement. We have perhaps bent over just a little too far in accommodating other people's cultures to such an extent that we have forgotten that our way of life is better and more civilized than that found in many parts of the world. I don't see at all that cousin marriages, murdering my daughter if she seeks a divorce, or pulling out an automatic pistol if somebody crosses me, is an improvement on what we always had in Britain.